All right, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Friday night live stream for August 29th of the 2025 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next hour plus, we're talking all things fantasy football related. So if you do have a question, be sure to go ahead, type it in the live chat, and or send it in via super chat in order to claim priority. Either way, I'm more than happy to help you guys out, answer questions, as many of us are on the precipice of our upcoming drafts this weekend. So if you do have any questions regarding your upcoming picks, how your teams look, any adjustments you need to make, I'm more than happy to help in any way that I possibly can. This is a little bit of an impromptu Friday live stream. I know that I mentioned earlier this week I'd be live streaming every single day. Unfortunately, yesterday schedule got pretty packed trying to update my latest rankings. I went ahead and did so, but unfortunately was not able to stream last night. But I do appreciate for those of you who have already shown up on this random unannounced live stream of sorts. Of course, I see many of familiar names. Hope you guys are doing well. Somebody in the chat while the music was rolling was mentioning that Breece Hall to the Cowboys is rumored. Listen, until I see it, I don't even want to speculate on it. There's too much potential trade negotiation, kind of there's a chance that Bigsby gets moved there, or Breece Hall could be moved, or there's a chance that they could go to the Chiefs, or maybe the Dolphins are looking for I don't know. Time will tell. Until it's confirmed, I can't really make any adjustments to my rankings accordingly, so we'll just keep it as is. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's begin with the first couple questions here. Let's see. Shizzle in the chat was saying Jacobs or Nico Collins. So, I mean, look, at this point, if we're talking about both of those players, I'm more inclined in a PPR to just lean towards that Nico Collins potential, especially considering he was already averaging about 19 points per game last season. And again, he had to return from injury and had all those different situations. So as it stands, I probably lean towards him. But the production that Josh Jacobs put forth late last season, especially in that final stretch of games, in that final 10-game span, 8 of those games consisting of 20 or more fantasy points, could see a lot more of that this season as the Green Bay Packers are locked and loaded with their new piece, Micah Parsons, as they're trying to become Super Bowl bound. Adam Amar sends in a super chat. Thank you very much, Adam. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Says that a 12-man half PPR league at the 1.02. First 4 picks to target. I mean, if I'm sitting at 1.02 in a half PPR league, I'm going to assume that the number 1 overall pick is going to subsequently be most likely Bijan Robinson. In the event in which that occurs, I would like to get Jamar Chase as my first overall pick. Then subsequently, as I get to the second round, if the best available player is potentially somebody like, I want to say, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, somebody like that falls to you, great. If not, Brock Bowers. In the event in which all 3 of those options are already taken, at that point, I'd probably grab a wide receiver like a Ladd McConkey, A.J. Brown, then follow it up with like a James Cook, Alvin Kamara, Omarion Hampton in third. So either wide receiver, RB, wide receiver tight end, RB, something of that kind of exchange. Just depends on what is available at the time. Considering the half PPR format, it does make it a little bit trickier as to predicting how RB heavy your league kind of proceeds. Additionally, how many starting wide receivers you have in your league definitely does impact how frequently the wide receiver position will come off of the board within that kind of a format. But as it stands, I'd probably suggest just going Chase, trying to grab a running back best available in that second round. Again, if the top 12 are not available, you can grab Bowers and then try to address RB in the third round. Thank you. Sebastian Alexson's in a question. Sebastian, thank you very much, sir. Says, I ended up with Hurts, Gibbs, Kamara, London, Evans, Loveland, Devontae Smith, PPR league. Is it decent? Also, should I trade RJ Harvey for Kelsey? I don't think you need Kelsey personally. I mean, again, Kelsey from the first 6 weeks of the season in the absence of Rashee Rice will be great. When I say great, I mean he's going to be, for the purposes of our leagues, anywhere between in a full PPR, like 12 to 14, 15 points. Hopefully, maybe he's a better Kelsey than he was last year. But as it stands, I think it's a really strong team. Gibbs and Kamara are fantastic as PPR running backs. You have an advantage at the quarterback position. You have Evans and London, who are monsters. Devontae Smith, who's Mr. Consistency within your flex. I think Loveland is going to take a little bit of time to kind of gain a little bit of momentum, but I think I would rather keep Harvey for the purposes of utilizing him as your flex rather than using him as a trade piece as it currently stands. So I'd keep it as is. I think it's a pretty strong team, especially if Harvey starts getting the receiving usage that he theoretically should within that offense. Thank you. Let's see here. Joe in the chat, Joe Estrella says, 9th pick will take Brown/Irving over Henry. If it's a full PPR, I would, genuinely. Now, in the event in which, again, you are a little bit hesitant on it because Brown and Irving don't have the resume that Henry has provided over the course of the last couple seasons here, I don't mind the idea of going Henry there. I have them all in the same tier for a reason at running back, so I could justify picking one over the other. But in terms of PPR upside, what Irving and Brown provide is really strong going into this upcoming season. Tim P was saying, is Green Bay defense a playable team? I mean, Green Bay's defense, even before the trade, was already a top 13 defense going into this upcoming season for fantasy purposes. Like, as it currently stands on my rankings, they've jumped up to being my number 9 defense from number 10. So I moved them up one spot because of Parsons. Again, usually the way that I function out defenses in the preseason typically has to do with points allowed, and then additionally also pass rush. If you can generate a pass rush and you can lead to sacks, of course, that is the most frequent volume of points you can get. Defensive touchdowns are incredibly, difficult, if not impossible, to predict on a year-by-year basis. So you want to try to follow, pass rush generation in order to try to figure out sacks, then force fumbles, and then subsequently after, because of pressure, interceptions are led to. So usually want to go after the pass rush. In this case, yes. Fantastic. I think the Packers definitely get a boost there. But in terms of like some of the best, pass rushes in the league last season, there's a reason why the Broncos were as good as they were. There's a reason why the Eagles defense was as good as they were, is because they can generate a pass rush and they can get those fantasy points just off of the base of not just points allowed, but just sack after sack. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Make Music, how's it going? Long time no see. Says, go Chiefs. Questions in the chat. All right, Make Music. He says, what's up, Andrew? I'm in a half PPR 12-team league. One of my league mates offered to give me Alvin Kamara for Connor and Egbuka. No, I think I'd rather keep Connor and Egbuka, to be honest. I mean, in terms of a half PPR format, it doesn't really... I don't think it's a... Considering the 12-team format, I'd just rather keep Connor and Egbuka. I think the value that they both provide in terms of the long-term value for the remainder of the season in comparison to Alvin Kamara, and again... Trust me, I love Alvin Kamara more than just about anybody, but I don't see the value between him and Connor significantly separate enough to where Egbuka is the equalizing factor in that trade. I would rather give another piece alongside of Connor that is maybe a little bit of a downgrade in comparison that makes me a little bit more comfortable. As for the way that your team currently persists, says you have Nix, Ladd, Sutton, Bijan, Kyron, and Njoku, Rice. Yeah, considering Rice is going to be gone for a little bit of time, I think I'd just rather have the Egbuka and Connor side of that overall question. Thank you. Again, for those of you who are joining us on this wonderful Friday, I hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys have some upcoming drafts this weekend. And in doing so, hopefully this live stream can provide a little bit of information as to how you can navigate your upcoming drafts and, of course, find success in doing so if the rankings that I've put out in terms of the most recent videos aren't enough help. Again, yesterday we put out my top 50 running back rankings. Earlier today, talking about my top 60 wide receivers, both of those for a full PPR scoring format. Tomorrow we'll also talk about overall rankings, probably like top 80. So that'll include running back, wide receiver, tight end, and running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback. Jeez, why am I was going to say kicker for a second. My brain is fried. But again, for those of you who want my all-encompassing rankings, not only for this upcoming weekend's drafts and the upcoming drafts that you may have with your league mates, you can go ahead and, of course, check out Betr using code Andrew today. Of course, signs you up. And with the most recent kind of like promotion that Betr has, if you sign up, you get a free $10 and you're ready to go. So that's first and foremost. Now, besides that, if you make the first time deposit minimum of $10 and then make a first time $1 minimum play within a real cash play, picking more or less on a given player stat, then you'll be eligible within those 3 steps. Again, I mentioned in every video to be able to get my rankings, not only for the upcoming drafts, but every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season. And yes, the map that is right there pretty much determines your eligibility based on your current location. If you can't get the rankings there, you can always check out the Patreon, all that information in the description. Thank you very much. Okay. Assassin's Edit in the live chat was saying, in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, Andrew, would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Burrow? I'd much rather have Burrow. In fact, Burrow would probably be my second highest ranked quarterback in a 6-point per passing touchdown league in that kind of format. Yeah, I mean, I could even justify taking him number 1 overall, but I think Lamar Jackson kind of takes the cake in that scenario, and or, Josh Allen. But as of right now, Burrow, yeah, absolutely ahead of Jalen Hurts in that category. All right, we had a question that came in from Big Verge. Thank you very much. This is in a 10-team full PPR format. I'm starting 3 wide receivers in a flex. Do I punt on my elite quarterback and or tight end? Which quarterback and tight end would you aim for if I take one early? And who would you suggest I take if I punt on quarterback and tight end spots? Okay, so there's a lot of questions there. First and foremost, in a full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 10-man league, where you can theoretically start 4 wide receivers in your starting lineup, I am prioritizing wide receivers at a premium. So I'm going to implore a hero RB strategy in which I'm selecting 1 running back within the first 2 rounds, and then I am heavily investing in wide receiver. Now, if the opportunity presents itself to invest in a Bowers, McBride, or Kittle, I have no issue doing so, but I would prefer in a full PPR to go after a Bowers or McBride. In the event in which neither of those opportunities are presented, I continue to stack up wide receiver until the opportunity of potentially in that late 3rd, early 4th, if Hurts or Daniels are potentially there, that's quite the appealing offer in my mind. Otherwise, again, I don't mind the idea of going, theoretically speaking, wide receiver in the first, like let's say to 7th or 8th overall selection. Let's say you go Puka Nacua in the first, you follow it up with like a Bucky Irving in the second. In the 3rd round, you grab yourself a Jackson Smith. In the 4th round, you could potentially go grab another wide receiver. Then, look towards rounds 5 and 6 to potentially get back into the running back conversation, or just keep stacking up wide receivers. Maybe Tetairoa McMillan falls to the 5, snag them there. Then in the 6th round, you can go after like a lower end RB2 that has receiving upside, that in a full PPR has a really strong value point of like a Tyrone Tracy that could just get the job done. That's all you really need at that point. Tony Pollard, if somehow he ends up there, I doubt that being the case, but I guess it depends on what kind of a league you play in terms of how sharp your league mates are. But I would punt, and if you do so, I'm looking towards, again, give me a Brock Purdy late in drafts. Give me a Tyler Warren late in draft, please and thank you. Prankster's Nightmare sends in a question. Thank you, Prankster. I appreciate it. Says, in a PPR, rank my team, please. Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Michael Pittman Jr., Cardinals defense, and Cam Little. Okay, Cardinals defense, I think, are relatively underrated going into this upcoming season, but I know why you picked them up. It's because they play against Spencer Rattler in week 1. You're already in the mindset of matchups. Congratulations, well done. Cam Little, obviously, he's got a leg on him with the 70-yard field goal that he put up in the preseason, and I think that offense will be enough to generate points and get him to being a top 12 kicker option this season. As for the rest of your team, again, you and I already know, when you have Jamar Chase and Christian McCaffrey on the same team, you're already a leg ahead of everybody. Then you also have, Tyreek Hill, Joe Burrow, Travis Kelce, Breece Hall. I have no complaints. I think this is a really strong team across the board. And of course, you'll rotate that flex option every week depending on matchups as we see fit. All right, Nathan Dennison sends in a question. Thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate it. It says, I have another draft tonight. I'm the 10th pick, which is the last pick overall. How would you go about it? First, Amon-Ra, second, Brown, quarterback, and then tight end. In a 10-team league, you are a little bit in a 10-team league where you can start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. There's a little bit more of a, I guess, what's the right word for it? You won't be punished as much if you were to take a quarterback and a tight end in that 3-4 turn. But personally, I would like to at least just have one of the two rather than both. If the opportunity presents itself to where you can somehow, some way get a discount on a Trey McBride in that 3rd round and somehow still get Jaden Daniels in the 4th, then sure, go for it. But I'm not trying to reach for these players. And if you're not reaching for them and you can still end up with those players on that 3-4th turn, you know what? I don't think it's a bad idea. Especially considering it's a 10-team league. There's less depth across the board, so there's going to be a little bit more value on the waivers in case anything goes wrong with any of your other selections over the course of that draft. Damon Smith sends in a question. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Says, what's going on, Drew? Would you trade Devon Achane for Omarion Hampton and Jordan Mason in a full PPR? I probably wouldn't. Now, the only reason I would ever consider doing this is if you were afraid of Achane and his potential, calf re-injury taking place. I'm not too concerned about it, primarily because we have to remember this injury was noted as of 15 days ago. It popped up on our injury report on August 14th. There's been a lot of time between now and then. They were holding him out of practice as a precautionary measure just to make sure that he was ready for week 1. Everything looks like he is on pace to be prepared for week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts. I would prefer to have HN, who has top 5 running back upside in comparison to the alternatives of trading for a Hampton and Mason combo, which again, they both can be of value. We already know they're both going to be good this year, but I just don't think that they have as much of the potential upside that HN presents. But of course, there's inherent risk alongside of HN, but I'm always willing to risk it for the biscuit. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Drew Soul, who says, in a half PPR, 10-team league, please identify my weakness. We have Nix and Lawrence as my quarterback combos. We have Chase, London, Sutton, Odunze, Shaheed, Hampton, Walker, Kamara, Eckler, Laporta, and Kincaid. Look, this is the thing. When you tell me to identify the weakness of your team, how am I supposed to identify one if there isn't one, theoretically speaking? Like, you have, okay, first and foremost, Bo Nix is my number 6 quarterback this season. Trevor Lawrence is my number 13. Okay, so you have 2 top 13 quarterbacks. Great. Then you have Chase and London, who are both top 10 ranked at my wide receiver position. Sutton is like top 20. Odunze is top 30. Okay, great. Then you have Hampton, Walker, and Kamara, who are all top 15, 16, depending on scoring format. And then you have Laporta and Kincaid, who are all top 13, or both top 13. There is no weakness, right? The weakness comes when the games actually begin and one of these players gets injured. And then it's a question of like, do you have the depth to be able to fill in? Which again, you do. You have Chase Lennon, Sutton, Odunze. You have Hampton, Walker, Kamara. And then you have Eckler just in case. You have the backups to both of your quarterback and tight end. There's no weakness here. Thank you. OJ Running sends in a question. Thank you very much, OJ. Really quickly, I just want to remind you guys, I'm going to go ahead and set that up right now. So what I would like to do is I'd like to mock draft, but specifically, I want to go ahead and do a mock draft if any interest. I'm actually curious. Would anybody oppose a super flex mock draft? Because I personally am trying to prepare for some upcoming super flex drafts this upcoming weekend. I'm just curious if there's any other interest. If we can fill a 12-team super flex draft, I'd be more than happy to run that. What's up, Fasty? How you doing, brother? If there's no interest, then we can continue on with just some regular draft, 1 quarterback leagues and see how it kind of proceeds. But really quickly, to answer old Jay Running's question, sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Sends in a 10-team full PPR. I'm starting Lamb, Neighbors, McMillan. Okay, beautiful. Running backs are Brown, Hampton. Okay, Kittle's my tight end. Prescott's my quarterback. My bench consists of Ekbuka, Addison, Jordan Mason, Braylon Allen, and Ollie Gordon. Drop one for a second quarterback like Caleb or May. No, I don't think you need to. Look, I think Dak Prescott will be enough. Now, come week 1 against the Eagles, do I like the idea of playing him? I think the garbage time will be enough. Let's just put it that way. Do I love it? No, but there's going to be enough garbage time for him to be fantasy relevant. But there's certainly risk there, for sure. But as of right now, no. I'd like to keep what you have on roster because I want to see how these lottery tickets, quote unquote, kind of pan out. Joel Garza sends in a question, says my question is in the chat. Thank you, Joel. Says full PPR got offered Kyron Williams and Rashee Rice for Chase Brown. Same league with Puka, Aaron Jones for Chase Brown. Okay. Kyron and Rashee Rice for Chase Brown. I have Amon-Ra, Chuba Hubbard, Xavier Worthy, David Montgomery, Jacoby Myers, and ETN. I mean, technically speaking, same league, Puka, Aaron Jones for Chase Brown. I mean, I'll take the Puka and Aaron Jones for Chase Brown. I think that's probably the better of the 2 offers, considering the full PPR and the priority of wanting to have that wide receiver depth, considering, yeah, that's probably what I would prefer if that's still on the table for you. Thank you. Okay, Superflex is the best. Can we do a 3 wide receiver mock? I was thinking unable to super chat. Not sure what's up, Andrew. What's up at Michael Barton? How's it going, brother? Hope you're doing well. No problem. You don't need to send in a super. You're good, man. I'll try to answer your guys' questions to the best of my ability. But what we'll go ahead and do is I'm going to switch the screen here so that I can head on over to this draft. Let's see. Let me try to catch up on some of these questions that were up above. Patrick, what's up, man? Says in a full PPR, my Chuba Hubbard and Waddle for Marvin Harrison and Caleb Johnson. Chuba Hubbard and Waddle for Marvin, Caleb Johnson. Honestly, I think I'd rather keep the. Let me see how your team looks. Actually, it says I have Josh Jacobs, Tracy, Henderson. Okay, CD Ladd. Okay, interesting. So you've got enough running back depth to go for the wide receiver upgrade. That's fine by me. I mean, again, if you're playing in a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I can justify that. That's fine by me. I'm okay with that move. I think it's a relatively balanced trade across the board because of the full PPR format and how I expect those players to perform. Andrew, where do you have the Ravens defense ranked? They're my number, I think, they're number 2 or 3. They're top 3 for me. Okay. We took care of that. Okay, we took Josh Shannon in the chat was saying in a 10-team PPR, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 4 flex, would you trade Tyreek Hill and Chuba for Genty? No. Not in a league in which I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I wouldn't. You're giving up too many fantasy points, unfortunately. Now, if you were playing in like an 8-team league or 6-team league where there's that many starters, then I'd say sure. But considering the amount of depth you're giving away just for singular player, I think it's a little bit of a risk in that circumstance. Okay, we took care of all that. I think we're just going to do a regular draft. As much as I love Superflex, I don't know how many of you actually do play in a Superflex format, so it'll probably be more helpful just to play in like a regular 12-team PPR 3 wide receiver format. I'll go ahead and I'll take this copy of the link and I'll put it in the live chat if you guys want to join me, and then we'll just go ahead and start this up. I'm probably just going to play, let's just go with the number 4 spot here, and we'll just see how it kind of rolls out. Jake Eagle in the chat was saying in a full PPR flex, should I go with Hampton, Marvin Harrison, Pickens, or McMillan for week 1? I have no clue, brother. As it regards to, or as it entails first week starter sits, again, we're in week 0 still. So let me get past all my drafts, and then come next Monday, once we start, of course, posting running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback rankings and live streaming every single day. There's going to be, over the course of next week, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 10 live streams. So we'll get those questions answered in due time. But as of right now, I couldn't objectively tell you with confidence as to which way I'm going amongst that group. I'd probably lean towards Hampton or McMillan, but no objective like 100% going on right now for me. Travis says, your PPR running backs have CMC over Barkley, but overall Barkley over CMC. Let me see. Full PPR. I don't know if you're right on that, Travis, because I'm looking at it right now, and that's not the case. Did you download the wrong one, maybe? Let me see. You might be looking at two different formats, because I'm looking at my most up-to-date rankings that I uploaded yesterday, and I have CMC in a full PPR ahead of Barkley in both the running back positional rankings, 3 versus 4, and in the overall rankings, 5 versus 7. So not sure. Maybe go download the most recent file on Patreon. I think that would probably be the way to go. Thank you. Luke Peacock sends in a question. Okay, we're all in here. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start the draft. Best of luck, everybody. Have fun. Luke Peacock says, rate my team in a 3 wide receiver, 10-man league. Half PPR. Cool. Let's see what you got here, brother. So Luke has the following. Quarterback is Bo Nix. Cool. Top 6. Genty and Walker. Great. Both top 16. Nico Collins. Great. Fantastic. Top 12 wide receiver. You have Travis Hunter and Marvin Harrison Jr. Fantastic. Warren's at tight end. Igbuka's in the flex. Great. I have no issue with this team at all. You're very much so kind of reliant on the success of rookies, but I don't think that's an issue. I think that's actually a positive. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Mr. Gibbs here at the 4. And we'll let it ride. Okay, where are we at here? Yeah, I mean, again, as of right now, you have Genty, you have Travis Hunter, you have Warren and Igbuka. You have 4 rookies. You have 2 year 2 players. Again, it's a young team, and for a redraft, it doesn't really matter how young they are or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, you got a heavy reliance on those young players. They have to all ball out. Expect the first couple weeks maybe to be like a kind of welcome to the NFL moment for some of them. They may take a little bit while to really build to where we expect, but as of right now, I think you should be in a good spot. All right. We took care of that. Let's see how this draft kind of goes. So again, for those of you who are watching, we are conducting a 12-team full PPR, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex format here, in which I am the 1.04. We took Gibbs with the first selection, and we'll see how this transpires. All right, let me get into the live chat, see what we have. What's up, Donald Smith? He says, Tracy Jr. or Henderson? I'd rather have Henderson over Tracy this year. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Hope you're doing well. Doppio, what's up, man? Says in a full PPR 10-team league, I got 2 wide receivers. All right, very well. 2 running backs and 2 flex. My trade offer consists of the following: Montgomery and Pickens, or Godwin. I'd rather have Pickens for my Bucky Irving. No, keep Bucky Irving. I don't see why I would make that trade. I don't think Montgomery and Pickens is enough of a value point in my mind to be able to justify that. Considering what you have on roster already is Genty, Bucky, Puka, London, Hampton, and then you have a bunch of guys that you can fill in that second spot next to him, I would keep it as is. Don't make any moves. All right, let's see here. I think there was a question from Michael Barton earlier that I wanted to go ahead and get to. He was saying, rate my team. I have Nix, Bijan, Bucky, Chuba, Connor, Javante, Sampson, Algier, Ridley, London, Pearsall. Yeah, Emeka, Buka, Warren. Yeah, pretty strong looking team. Again, I think your running backs are obviously stacked. I think in due time, people are going to be coming over to your team and asking you for a running back trade, because the fact that you have 4 guys that should be starting in your league is kind of ridiculous. Alrighty, where are we at here? Draft is in an hour for me, Andrew. Life is good. Yeah, should be a fun weekend. And look, here's the thing: as much as I like the idea of drafting, in comparison to week 1, like week 1 Sunday morning is Christmas. Drafting is cool and all, but I like to actually watch the games. I don't like speculating very much. I'd rather just watch and know what's going on, you know? I want to know if nice Bucky Irving selection on top of a Barkley selection is a nice combination there. I like that. Seeing as to what is available here, I'm inclined to go double RB myself. Brock Bowers available. Ooh. So in a full PPR, my current structure, I technically do have Bowers ahead of Jonathan Taylor, but I kind of want to take Jonathan Taylor because I like the double RB stack. I don't think I need to go tight end. I'll just punt on the position, structure out these RBs to be pretty strong, and then grab a wide receiver in round 3. Alrighty, let me see here. What do we have in the live chat? Brenton McCann says, I managed to get Christian McCaffrey and Nico Collins at a 12-man draft. I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, Brenton, I think you should be feeling pretty good. Assuming those 2 players play as well as they have in their careers and stay healthy, that's a really strong kind of mixture of players there. Now, the team that's sitting next to me here with Lamb and Bowers, if they get Kamara, I feel like that's a fantastic start in my mind. Even if they don't go RB and they want to potentially punt on the position and go wide receiver with like a Ladd already went off the board. With another wide receiver here, maybe AJ Brown still available. Nope, he's gone. Tyreek Hill, I guess, is still there. That's not a bad overall position to be in, to be honest. I'm surprised that AJ Brown went there at the 1.7 second round pick. It's a little bit early, at least ahead of London is a little bit. Oh, wow, McBride. That is a bold one. I like it. Patrick in the chat, or Partik, not Patrick, sorry. Partik says, Tet or Eckler for T, who wins? Tet and Eckler for T Higgins. Yeah, I'll take the T Higgins side. That's fine by me. I think it's enough. Derp General says, hey, Mr. Kirchhoff. What's with the recent hype around Devontae Smith? It seems like a lot of wish casting going on. What? You mean witchcrafting or wish casting? I don't know which one you meant there, but just look at the stats that Devontae Smith has put forward. He's been there's Alvin Kamara. I like that a lot. I actually really do. In a full PPR, that's the right way to go about it. Well done, sir. All right, let's see what we have here available. I mean, look at Kyron Williams just kind of sitting there for me. All right, as of right now, I will take my Jackson Smith as my 1 point wide receiver and in my full PPR. I respect the commitment, brother. I respect it. Okay. Listen, yeah, Devontae Smith has just been good in his career. He's always been good. So I don't know about what the recent quote unquote hype is, but considering AJ Brown is dealing with a hamstring injury, and there's always the potential re-aggravation of that. Anytime AJ Brown has missed time over the course of the last couple of years, Devontae Smith is like top 15, if not top 12 ranked, like on those weeklies. So maybe that's the reason why it's happening as of late. I'm not sure. Otherwise, I haven't really felt a shift in that, in like his ADP or anything. Drew in the chat says, "Yo, I have a draft in 30 minutes. Can I can start wide receiver, RB, wide receiver, and 2 flex?" Okay. Couldn't it be low-key genius to take Bowers and McBride at tight end 1 and 2 at the flex? No, it's not. Listen, unless you're playing in a tight end premium league, you have to just value, especially if you're going to play a tight end in the flex, you have to just value them as in their wide receivers because their score lines are going to be identical to wide receivers. So if you compare someone like McBride in terms of total points in a full PPR to a wide receiver, theoretically, I'm just going to pull this up for the case of this scenario. So last season, McBride put up about 250 fantasy points, okay? Just off of that. In terms of the flex position comparative value for a McBride, he's basically at 250 points last season. He's wide receiver number 22. Okay. So after let's say, for example, if you were to take him in the 3rd round after you grabbed Bowers in the 2nd, like let's say, for example, here you go Bowers and then McBride, you're taking him far too early as to where he is potentially capable of landing based on what he scored last season. Because I don't think he scores very many points than he did last year. Let's say he scores 3 more receiving, let's say 4 more receiving touchdowns. Okay. It doesn't mean he's going to be able to sustain the volume of receptions or receiving yards he was able to. We'll probably guarantee the 2 rushing touchdowns he scored to disappear. So I think he probably scores similar, if not barely more points this season. To which I think to myself, is he worth a 3rd round pick there in comparison to the wide receivers around him? No, I don't think so. You just have to compare him to wide receiver in terms of straight, head-to-head value. The only reason that Bowers, McBride, Kittle have an insane value point is because you have to start him at tight end, and everybody has to start at tight end. So there is a value kind of advantage that you have based on the contributions that you're putting forth towards that singular position. How important is elite quarterback in a 10-team 4-point per passing touchdown league? As long as your quarterback runs, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a running quarterback. If you don't have a running quarterback and you're playing with like Jared Goff in that situation, we're in trouble. But if you have a mobile quarterback in a 4-point per passing touchdown league, I'm happy. Do you need an elite one? You don't need one, but I think it's not a bad idea to try to get a Jalen Hurts or a Jaden Daniels on that 3-4 turn. If you're sitting in this kind of a range over here. Okay, I'm on the clock. I want a wide receiver. Let's see what's available. Yeah, okay. Seeing as to what is available, I have 31 seconds here. As the best available wide receivers, if Tedoroa McMillan is still there, I'd be more than happy to go in that direction. Otherwise, it's Marvin Harrison for me or DK Metcalf. Let's see. I'm cool with McMillan. I'll come back after, and we'll see if I can get another receiver here, technically. Marv Harrison, DK Metcalf. These are all great picks here at the 1.03. Just to kind of shore up their wide receiver. Yeah, there's the Metcalf pick. Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Drew, let's see here. Adam Paul sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, I'm in a 12-team full PPR league. What kind of strategy should I have going into the 12-man league? In a 12-man full PPR, again, I think... Okay, here's the thing about full PPR. When you play in a full PPR league, it inherently... Oh man, I'm gonna say some bold things here. When you play in a full PPR, it takes less skill to win games as a manager. Because in a full PPR league, you could legitimately roster Josh Downs and Wan'Dale Robinson and abuse receptions. If you find someone who is a reception merchant, you can just abuse off of that potential structure. Now, in the event in which You are playing in a 12-team league. The strategy I would suggest is trying to get a pretty even split. Go RB wide receiver to begin with. Marvin Harrison in the 5th is kind of insane value there. I mean, as it stands, I'm probably going. I have an idea. Not sure if I like my own idea. I was gonna wait on wide receiver and take running back, but I think I just kind of have to take it because we're playing in a 3 wide receiver league. I don't think I need to get genuinely cute with it. I've already went double RB to begin with. Now it's just a matter of stacking value at that wide receiver 1, 2, 3. Then I can address flex later. Guess that's kind of necessary. But to get back to your question, Paul Adam, I think you want to stay balanced. But then again, if just like how you can see on screen, if I'm playing in a full PPR league and I have the opportunity of getting 2 top 10 running backs, I'm never going to ignore it. I'll just take that and I'll run to the bank with that. To the Max sends in a question. It says 12-team PPR standard roster with 1 flex drafting at the 1.04, drafting Gibbs and Bucky. Would you take a wide receiver in the 3rd and draft Lamar or Josh Allen? Typically JSN, Evans. I would rather just have the wide receiver. I can justify as to going with just look at the draft that we're doing right here, right? Theoretically, if I was to have taken, let's say Lamar fell to me here, and instead of taking JSN, I take Lamar. My top 2 receivers would be McMillan and Ridley, which I can live with. But again, I'm not going to have as much of that kind of consistency at wide receiver, but I'm kind of foregoing that in order to have the potential of a 400-point scoring quarterback. So I can justify it. I have no issue with it at all. Personally, I like to stack up on the wide receiver there. I think I can find value at quarterback later on that is going to be sufficient enough to be able to service me well. But as of right now, yes, I would prioritize wide receiver if it was my position, but I could justify going quarterback, either Lamar or Josh Allen there. Shoot, if McBride had fell to me, I could even justify taking him on that, that round 3 turn. Everything there is relatively justifiable, but personally, I prefer the wide receiver. Mo Money sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, I'm in 2 leagues. For my money league, we draft the day after the free league, okay? Should I save my best strategy for the money league since my members are in both leagues? Yes. I mean, for the purposes of strategy, you should try to just have the craziest looking draft and just try to don't reach for the sleepers, right? Don't. Just let them go. Let them go at ADP. Big Verge sends in a follow-up, says, is it bad to start in a 10-team league full PPR 3 wide receivers and a flex with 2 wide receivers at the 8th pick? No, I don't think it's a bad selection. I mean, look, just like this team went here, they went Neighbors and Puka Nacua. Those are the 2 highest ranked players. I mean, just in a full PPR format, right? I have Neighbors as my number 10 and I have Puka Nacua as my number 8. So they're 2 of my top 10 players that theoretically have just gone within the first 17 selections. That's fantastic start. Then you can follow up by getting running back value. Now, reaching for Henderson in the 3rd round, I think is a little bit of a rich position there, but in a full PPR could end up panning out and of course playing out well. But no, I don't think going double wide receiver in a full PPR is a bad idea, especially considering you can start 3 wide receivers in that format. I think that actually is in your favor to go in that direction, considering the value that may fall to you in those circumstances. Whether Nacua falls to you in that second or whether it's Nico Collins, I think it's all great. Let's see here. Warrior in the chat was saying in the 10-team PPR 2nd pick overall. How do I do my 2nd and 3rd round? I've done many mock drafts, but I'm not sure actually want to go what I want to do. Quarterback, tight end, keep hammering value. I mean, in a 10-team league, considering, again, there aren't 2 extra rosters absorbing value, I think in the 3rd round, it's very justifiable to either go tight end or quarterback. assuming you have a split of like RB wide receiver. If you don't start a split RB wide receiver, if you're going double RB or double wide receiver to begin, and then you follow it with a quarterback, I think it becomes a little bit more sketchy. Like theoretically speaking, if you see this, the 1.01, we've got a lot of eggs in the Breece Hall basket at that point. What's up, Flotation? I hope you're doing well, brother. Oh, I'm on the clock. Didn't even realize. Okay. Is Tony Pollard still available? That's what I was. Okay, he's gone. He went in the 5th. Okay. That's cool. I'll just take wide receivers. I'll just stack them up. So seeing as to how 2 teams on the left of me have quarterback and 2 teams on the left of me have tight end, I'm not really in like a position to where I need to prioritize either of those. I've already got running back and I'm playing in a full PPR where I start 3 wide receivers and 1 flex. I'm very, I'm very happy with the idea of starting 4 wide receivers weekly because the format really does lend to their upside. I will address running back later on. I don't need to do that as of yet. I think that's something that I will probably either address in round 8/9. Seeing the current value that is on the board, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Caleb Johnson. Like Caleb Johnson's a great running back pick here, but in the same vein, like, can't I just take Tyler? Like, where's Jalen Warren? Not Tyler Warren. Warren. Yeah, Jalen Warren's still available, right? Like I can still do that if I feel the need to do so. So don't need to reach on running back as of yet. I'm okay with that position. I think the way that I go about this round is probably addressing quarterback in round 7. Let me look at my board really quickly here. Seeing as to I just took Golden over Laporta. I have him 1 spot ahead of him in terms of my rankings. My next highest ranked player theoretically is taking Travis Kelce here, which I'm inclined to do considering how I've constructed this roster. Again, besides even taking Kelce, if I really wanted to like build depth, I just go JCM here or I go Bo Nix. So like there's a lot of paths available to me. I can go Bo Nix, Travis Kelce, JCM and address either of those positions and just go with it as such in a full PPR. Everything is theoretically available to me. How I have it currently ranked, I have Travis Kelce projected for more points over expected. So I'm fine with that, at least going in that direction. And then again, I'm probably, yeah, let's do that. So we'll go over here, we'll go tight end, and we'll just take Kels once it's my turn. Okay, moving on. Sorry about that. Let me catch up on some of these questions. Hope you guys are doing well. JJC says, draft strategy for the 9th pick. In a PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense, 1 tight end league. In the 9th pick in a full PPR, I don't know how many teams are in your league, but considering you can start 2 flex positions, I think, again, I want to prioritize wide receiver to try to get as much depth in that kind of position. So if I do end up either wide receiver, running back, or double RB, or double wide receiver, any of those potential outputs are very much so, I think they're solid. Now, in the case of potentially the 1.09 here, of the available, like Ashton Genty, I think is fantastic. Preferably, I would have probably taken Amon-Ra and then just solidified a RB in round 2, considering how much value comes back down the board. So RB wide receiver split, I think, is solid. And then from there on, just building wide receiver depth out. Okay, I know that Flotation sent me a message on Twitter. Flotation, let me check that out right now, brother. See what you have here. Okay, where is my X app? Let's see here. All right, let's see what you said. It says Russ over T-Law. No, I'm not playing Russ over T-Law, brother. Good one, though. I mean, listen, whenever you play Carolina, you fire up all of your offensive pieces when you have an opportunity to exactly that. Says, what do you think of the lineup? My quarterback started. My running. Okay, let's see what you have here for week 1. Josh Allen, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aaron Jones, Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, Mark Andrews, Eckler, Trevor Lawrence, and the Texans defense. Personally, I would feel a little bit more comfortable probably running Tracy ahead of Eckler. And then additionally, I'd feel a little bit. That's it. That's the only swap that I theoretically make in that circumstance. Thank you. Okay, continuing on. Alex Ruiz sends in a super chat. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that, brother. Says in a 14-team full PPR Superflex format, 6-point per passing touchdown. Line up consists of Dak Prescott, Chase Brown, Montgomery, Puka, Neighbors, Zach Ertz. My flex is Swift, Stroud. Okay. Chigoziem Okonkwo on the waivers. Should I trade to improve tight end? Absolutely need to make some moves to improve tight end. If the best available tight end is Okonkwo, I don't mind picking him up. Additionally, I like the idea if potentially Brenton Strange is available. That's solid. Mason Taylor, Mike Gesicki. Those could be players that you invest in terms of kind of picking them up and just playing matchups until further notice. But I do like the idea of just maybe eventually looking for a trade. Now, do you need to conduct one now? No. I think if you were to try to make trades now, guys, I think it's a little bit too much value going back and forth being traded. People are trying to win their leagues quite frankly right now. Let's see how week 1 goes, because there's a high likelihood that come week 1, let's say, for example, somebody drafted Evan Ingram. Let's say he scores 0.0 points. At that point, you're calling them and saying, hey, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and trade for your Evan Ingram. And maybe they'll listen to the potential offer in comparison to now where they're like, yeah, Evan Ingram's going to be fantastic. Like, so just give it a second. If you can't trade for somebody like Njoku, who again I think is a little bit of a lesser value option, I would just hold. Okay, let's see what happened here. I'm on running back here. So Jalen Moore comes off the board. I'll take JCM there. I don't mind it. I'm basically just going to just hope that the value that he can produce is enough to come off my bench eventually. He should be able to win the job in time. Timu says, Mason Taylor so early in the season? No, I mean, look, here's the thing. Mason Taylor could provide value very early. He could, or he could just be someone that you're stashing on the bench, right? That's the whole point. The question is, which tight ends would you stash alongside of Ertz? Which, as of right now, Okonkwo or him, it's a toss-up. We don't know if Okonkwo is going to go back to being his weeks 1 through 14 self, or if he's going to be the fantasy playoff Okonkwo who was getting 11 targets, right? Isaiah in the chat was saying Penix isn't giving any rushing upside. That is correct. But what he does provide is rushing touchdown upside. Whenever they get inside the 5-yard line, last season he scored, he had one rushing touchdown where he ran to the pylon. Another one was a QB sneak that unfortunately was called back due to a penalty. Otherwise, he does have rushing touchdown upside. Rushing upside, no, does not exist for him. Let's see here. You were thinking of taking Bill last round, so that's good value. I mean, the reason why I'm able to get Bill there is because his ADP on Sleeper is so ridiculously low that people just don't see him on the list. So I was already thinking if he doesn't go, it's probably something I go with. Otherwise, I probably would have ended up taking ETN. I'm curious, in this league, did the Charbonnet manager end up getting, did the Kenneth Walker manager end up getting Charbonnet? Wait, did nobody take Charbonnet yet? Because I'll draft him right now if I have to. Wait a minute, hold up. Hold up. Oh no, he's still there. Wow. Yeah, look, that's even better value. Like I can just, it's not a cash in, right? There's still like there's the potential he's just a handcuff, right? So it's not like it's a guarantee value, but I don't mind that either to just kind of bolster running back depth. Looking at the quarterbacks that are theoretically available, yeah, of course, listen, who's that? J-Dot, of course. Listen, brother. Hey, come on, man. You couldn't just let him fall to me? You had to do that to me, dude? DK or Tyrone Tracy, flex PPR? Yeah, it's DK Metcalf there. Ryan Davis says, full PPR, Chase Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., or Derrick Henry, Puka Nacua. Let me see where I have them ranked. Chase Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., or Puka Nacua, Derrick Henry. It's equal. Equal value. In my mind, like legitimately equal. I don't think that there's one I don't think I can confidently say like one is better than the other combo in a full PPR. Firestone Projection says in the 2026 first round, Chase Brown, Kyle Williams, or Ashton Genty. 2026 third round, Jacoby Myers. Which side would you rather have in a dynasty? Kyle Williams or Ashton Genty? What do you mean by or? Okay, so we're trading. Wow, interesting. I think it really depends on how the team is built. Okay, hold up. I'm on the clock. Let me just take a look at what we have here. Seeing as to how this team is built so far, I don't really want to take a quarterback because I know that I'm going to get one next round. So at this point, I'm just investing in backfields. Let me just grab that. I thought about grabbing Eckler, but I think if I just have two Washington Commanders, I could just ruin my entire bench. So I'll just diversify a little bit here. We'll see how it kind of breaks down. I feel like Walker Charbonnet split is going to be a lot closer than people think. I don't look okay. As much as there's a likelihood that that could occur, I think there's a reason why Walker, every time he came back from injury last season, despite how well Charbonnet played, there's a reason why Walker immediately was the RB1, and then it wasn't even close in terms of the usage of Charbonnet. That could be a coaching decision, but again, the head coach, McDonald, is still there. So he could have stepped in at any time and been like, no, let's make this a split. But they never did because I think they just truly prefer Kenneth Walker there because I think he is just truly the more, the more pound for pound better running back. Okay, where was I at here? Okay, let me scroll back up. There was a couple questions that I may have missed in terms of super chat. Big Verge says in a 10-team full PPR 3 wide receivers, what round do you grab Warren? When you say Warren, do you mean Tyler Warren? So as of right now, in terms of my full PPR, right? Okay, let me see where I have Tyler Warren in my flex rankings. Tyler Warren, as of right now, I have him within. What round is that? I think it's round 9. So he went in round 8 in this draft, which I think is justifiable. If that's the tight end you prefer, then you take it. Now, Kyle Pitts going in the 9th is some beautiful business there. I love it. When I say beautiful, I mean I can't stand it. Okay, we got auto pick from Mr. Smitty over here. Very well. J Money says, help in a PPR 6 point per passing touchdown, 0.25 per carry, 15 yards. Rushing per 1 point. Wow. 3 flex. I picked 12. Okay. This format, how would you pick? Okay, so in this league, this is my suggestion. It's very simple, J Money. You go heavy running back, and it's not even close. When you're getting 0.25 per carry, you absolutely abuse the format by going triple RB then quarterback. That's how I would suggest it. Yep. Because, again, if you're going to get running backs that are going to carry the ball 20 times per game, we're getting nearly a touchdown worth of fantasy points just off of that alone. I think it's, I think that makes up for the yardage and then gives you a little bit extra bonus there. And then anytime you're playing in a 6 point per passing touchdown league, probably want to get a good quarterback. Now, in regards to this Firestone Productions question, if you're trying to win now, you take the Genty side of that. If you're trying to just kind of build for the future, I'll take that 2026 first. But again, Genty is kind of the future, right? So a little bit tricky. All right. This draft is getting into a little bit of an auto draft kind of simulator at this point and that side of the board. I'm just going to go ahead and close out my kind of approach here with quarterback and then follow it with a wide receiver. And then I'll go ahead and continue to answer questions here. Again, for those of you who are joining us today, welcome. I hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys have some drafts upcoming here, and hopefully I can answer your questions to help you guys out within those upcoming drafts. Again, a reminder, For those of you who want my all-encompassing rankings for your upcoming drafts to have an advantage upon your league mates, whether it's half or full PPR, by position, by tier, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, and flex, you can check out Betr today. Again, when you sign up using code Andrew, you'll get an immediate free $10 in which you can make plays and, of course, explore the website if you are eligible, of course, based on your current location. But besides that, of course, once you sign up using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of $10 and then make a one-time minimum at least play of $1 within the real cash entry. So you have to use one of your $10 that you deposit. Once you make that, you'll be on my email list and you'll be good to go. Very simply, I'm happy with either. Do I just lottery ticket running backs here? I kind of want Keon Coleman. Okay. Anyway, really quickly, let me just big draft board this really quick. We'll just move this off the screen. Okay. So we're going to answer more questions, but again, as soon as you make that $1 play, then you'll be on my email list, and then I'll send you subsequent rankings every single week for the remainder of the season. Every Sunday morning, you'll be good to go. Just check your spam folder, and you're good. If any of you have gone ahead and made those steps and haven't received an email from me as of the last couple of days or maybe a week, there is an email down in the description of the video. Please shoot me an email so I can help settle that, so I can get you good to go and ready to go for the remainder of the season. I appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you. Again, also, if that's not something that you're interested in but want to get my rankings still, maybe my draft guide, all that kind of jazz, there's a Patreon link down below. Appreciate all that support. Thank you, guys. All right, a couple more questions here, and then we're going to close out today's live stream. Again, this was a quick one, but it is a Friday night. People to see, places to be. Let's answer a couple more questions, then we'll head out. We had a question that came in from Dolphin345, who says, what do you think about my Superflex team? Nick Goff, beautiful, I love that. Wide receivers are BTJ Sutton, Odunze, Pearsall, Golden, Jacobs, Henderson, Mason, Warren, and then Bowers. Yeah, I mean, listen, if my team, okay, I'm going to have a couple super flex drafts this upcoming weekend. If my team looks like that, I'm going to be pretty happy. I'm going to be honest, because the wide receiver, quarterback, yeah, I think every position has absolute upside there. I would have loved at least one more running back on roster, but hey, I'll take what you have. And I think that's a really strong team that you've put together there. Okay, let's see here. Jose Rodriguez in the chat was saying, I need to get around a player. Let's see, am I on the clock again? I am. Okay, beautiful. Caleb Williams comes off the board. No problem. I knew that was going to happen. I was prepared for it. Not a problem. Close that for now. Okay, thank you very much. For those of you who were alongside of me in that draft, just want to answer a couple more questions here. Does Josh Jacobs have more upside with Michael Parsons on defense now? No. I do not believe that intrinsically Josh Jacobs gets more value. I think that there are chances in which this team improves, but does Josh Jacobs' value improve? I don't think you can actually quantify that number. You can't. I don't think we can quantify the actual statistical impact and fantasy points scored increased for Josh Jacobs from Micah Parsons, unless we're predicting, hey, Micah Parsons gets a strip sack fumble recovered on the 5-yard line. The next play equals Josh Jacobs touchdown. Okay, great. But, those are just like speculative at that point. That's just like very like, yeah. Anyway, I need to get around a player. It says RB is Ollie Gordon, but I have Jennings Mason from the Vikings take on a defense that is Arizona or Cincinnati. Which one? I'm not sure what your question really means here. So basically, you need to drop a player. If you need to drop a player, then you're ending up dropping Ollie. Otherwise, you wait until Jennings potentially misses week 1. You put him on your IR, then pick up a defense. All right, let's see here. AJ in the chat says, hey, Andrew, in a 4-point per passing touchdown, 6-point per rushing, who's better between Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and J.J. McCarthy? In that kind of a format, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, J.J. McCarthy. That's the order. If you wanted to go Trevor Lawrence over Fields, I'm happy with it. I have them in the same tier of quarterback. Eric says, what's your thoughts on trading David Njoku for Tyler Warren with the increased snaps from Harold Fannin? You got to remember, the quote-unquote increased snaps are not something that is rare or uncommon with any Kevin Stefanski scheme. If you just go look at the snap counts of all tight ends for the Cleveland Browns over the course of the last 3 seasons, they've always loved to utilize 12 and 13 personnel, which is 2 or 3 tight end sets. So it's nothing that is rare. It is nothing that is uncommon. It is par for the course. In the case of David Njoku as a member of this team, I'm not concerned about it. And I wouldn't make that trade unless, again, I wouldn't personally. I'd rather have David Njoku in the fantasy points I'm going to get weeks 1 through 7 with him and Joe Flacco. Revan says, no question. Just wishing you and everyone here a lot of luck for this weekend. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you, Revan. Thank you. B-Dog, what's up? Says, traded DK Najee and a 2026 third for Debo, Jordan Addison, and a 2026 second in my dynasty. Did I cook? I think you did. Yeah. Because mainly, the thing is, we don't want Najee Harris anymore. That's the thing, right? We're not interested in the Najee Harris kind of situation. Jay Newton says, in a 12-team full PPR draft tomorrow, 0.2 per carry at the running back position. I have the 9th spot. Bucky, Chase, or Nico, or London. I'd probably go 0.2 per carry league. Full PPR, I'll probably take Bucky Irving there, to be honest. Levi says, hey, Andrew, in a keeper league, PPR, should I keep Gibbs in the 2nd round or McBride in the 6th? Bowers is also being kept, and possibly Kittle. Thank you, sir. I'd rather keep Gibbs. I think the 1-round discount there is enough to justify it in my mind, rather than the 3-round discount you'd get from McBride, personally. Brent says, what do you think of your Rams midnight black jerseys? Haven't seen them yet. I'm going to be honest. I have not seen them, but I'll take a look and I'll give you my thoughts. Let's see. Nope, don't like it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if the Rams needed to have a black jersey. I think the blue is solid. I think the white is solid. I think the throwback Rams jersey would have been nice. I don't know about the all black. That's an interesting take. I don't know. Godwin, sorry. Says Cedric Tillman a good fit for Flacco under center? Absolutely, yes. As a late round flyer, he's a solid pickup. Otherwise, expect him to be mentioned within the first 2 weeks of our waiver wire episode. Cam sends in a question. Says Christian McCaffrey / Genty at the 10/12. PPR risky or worth the upside? It's absolutely worth the upside. Absolutely. I'm willing to die on that hill. And if my season goes awry, so be it. I just won't watch football. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with that. Brett Webster sends in a super. Thank you very much, Brett. I appreciate that, brother. Says, thoughts on my squad. I'm in a 12-team full PPR 3-wide receiver league. We got Purdy, Nico, London, Pearsall, Adunze, Mims, K9, Henderson, Harvey, Charbonnet, Loveland, and Beck. Yeah, I'm not rostering Beck personally. I think based on what we have seen, based on the fact that he has pretty much fallen to being wide receiver 4 on roster behind Myers, Amari Cooper, and of course Thornton. Beck is probably not somebody I'm rostering. Outside of that, everything else looks really solid across the board. Mims could end up missing, but hopefully he'll be returning to practice on Monday after, of course, sustaining the hamstring injury this week. Let's see here. B-Dog says, do you think you're going to raise Egbuka's rankings quickly after he plays? No, look, here's the thing about Egbuka, right? The other pieces of this offense are going to return, right? So the jump start that he'll get for the first 4 weeks is really great. But then Godwin returns. And then Otton is going to still be like probably playing week 1, hopefully. McMillan will return midway. And it's not to say that like Egbuka is going to disappear, but I think his opportunity share will, effectively get a little bit diminished. So over time, I still do expect him to be like a top 36 receiving option. But the biggest difference maker between being in that like low end wide receiver 3 and then getting into that wide receiver 2 convo is purely just touchdowns. So if he's capable of scoring a high volume of touchdowns, 7-8 this season, then I think he can get into being, wide receiver 25. But the question is he going to score that many? Which is an incredibly unpredictable kind of situation there. Yeah, Baker threw 41 last year, but I mean, is Baker a guy that does that year in and year out? I don't see that being the case. I mean, he went one year from being 25 touchdowns to 41 the next year. You know, I think he probably comes back down to his to the mean, which is like a 31 touchdown season, which again does provide potential for Egbuka to be solid, but he only has a couple weeks by himself until we see the return of a lot of these other, receiving red zone threats. Okay, we're good to go there. How long have we been here for? Just really want to check. Just about an hour. Okay, so I'm going to answer a couple more questions here, then we're heading out. I do appreciate y'all spending your time here. Again, I did post video earlier today in regards to my top 60 wide receivers for a full PPR, so if you need that for your upcoming drafts and don't want to, of course, get the rankings via the Patreon and or the Betr sign up, that's the next best way of doing it. Is, of course, continuing the support via the viewership. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you, guys. So, a couple more questions here. We had a 12-team, 6th pick, half PPR, Christian McCaffrey, Henry, or one of JJ or CD Lamb. I'd rather have CD Lamb there. Thank you. Levi says, filthy wide receivers for a 12-team, Brett? Yeah, absolutely. I love that combo. Dustin says, in a 4-player keeper superflex league, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, who should I keep? Lamar, Purdy, Amon-Ra, BTJ, Collins, Cook, or Kittle? Okay. So in a superflex format, I am keeping Lamar, Amon-Ra, BTJ, and Collins. Everybody else can go. Your team is now stacked. Congratulations. You're winning the league, brother. That is a monster squad. Yeah, so Lamar, Amon-Ra, BTJ, Collins. Keep all those, and congratulations, firm handshake. We'll see you in Week 17, Christmas week. Flacco says 10-team half PPR league with the 7th pick. Do I pair Neighbors with Henry or then Lamar Kittle, or Neighbors with Bucky and then Daniels and JSN? In a half PPR, I think I'm more inclined to go with the Neighbors Henry combo. It doesn't mean you have to commit to the Lamar, but if you end up getting it, I think it's a really solid combo. Cake says, would you pick up Green Bay's defense? Would essentially drop Otten for them. Yeah, but look, Green Bay plays against the Lions week 1. So am I picking him up to play them week 1 against the Lions? No, I'm not interested in that. Maybe, if I go look at Green Bay's schedule here, let's see. So they take on the Lions, then they take on the Commanders. So, and then they take on the Browns and then the Cowboys. So I'd be willing to potentially pick them up after week 1 in preparation for week 3 against the Browns, and then in preparation for week 4 of Michael Parsons returning to play against his former team. And then in week 5, they play the Bengals, which I'm not interested. So as of right now, not incredibly excited about their early matchups. Again, I play matchups when it comes to defense. So, and I'll mention that every single week when we go over, the Sunday morning rankings, the Saturday afternoon live streams, the Monday waiver wire pickups where we include kickers and defenses. So everything like that will be taken care of. You just got to stay tuned, and we'll try to lead you in the right direction there. Kingpin says, B-Rob, R. Davis, or Tesla? Pick one. Brian Robinson, Ray Davis, or Tesla? I'd rather just have Ray Davis. Tesla, again, is buried on the depth chart. He's going to have to be the 6th option of that offense after everybody else, and Brian Robinson is 100% contingent. At least Ray Davis gets looks regardless of whether or not there is an injury in that backfield. Andrew, who do you like to flex in a full PPR to start the season? Ricky Pearsall or McMillan? McMillan has to play because they play against the Jaguars. Jaguars secondary was, that's a Jaguar secondary. Yep, sounds good. Dustin says, I won last year. I'm not surprised, Dustin. I'm not surprised one bit, brother. Humble Progress says, I traded Chase Brown and Brian Robinson Jr. for Nico Collins and Breece Hall. How did I do? That's a fantastic trade. Congratulations. Well done on you. AB says, I got the 1.6. CD's the pick, unless Gibbs falls. Correct. Oni says, is my RB position is the most important in a standard league? Absolutely. RB position and then arguably quarterback, if you can get a top 4 option. Billy Bishop says, does losing their right tackle hurt Bijan Robinson this year? Absolutely. That right tackle is arguably a top 10 run blocking offensive tackle in the National Football League. Caleb Gray or Gary, whatever his last name is, I don't remember. I'm dyslexic. He is a really good run blocking tackle. They do fill in his position with Elijah. I forget the last name. but he's a veteran that's been in the league for like 8 years. So is it going to impact him negatively? Absolutely. But is it enough to where I am burying Bijan? No. All right, y'all. I do appreciate jeez. See, this is why I got to end the live stream, because my brain's starting to malfunction a little bit here. I do appreciate y'all coming through, supporting the channel. Again, I just wanted to go ahead and do a quick 1 hour live stream. I'll be back tomorrow, not live streaming, but posting a video. I think I'll probably live stream this upcoming Sunday, but we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see what I end up doing. But tomorrow, overall rankings for a full PPR. Hopefully you guys will tune into that prior to your upcoming draft. Again, like I've mentioned, if you want my all-encompassing rankings, follow the following instructions. More information down below. I mention in every video. You can get the rankings via Betr. You can get, of course, the free new promo where you get an automatic free $10. All you have to do is sign up. But yes, if you want the rankings, make that deposit, make that first time real cash play, and then you'll be good to go. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cue the music. Have a great rest of your Friday nights and enjoy your upcoming draft. Good luck, and I'll see you guys. Peace.